I moved here now 30 years ago, and shortly thereafter, co-founded AOL. At the time, it really wasn't very entrepreneurial. It was sort of the government. It was sort of government contractors and lobbyists and people kind of supporting, the government. But through the growth of AOL and MCI and some other companies, and the spin-offs that happened as a result of those companies, now it really is a pretty vibrant entrepreneurial region. It's one of the top markets in the country, and I think has great promise. I think that momentum will continue to build. Indeed, some of the great opportunities in the next 5 or 10 years are going to not just be building traditional internet companies, but building the next generation of companies that use the internet to transform important aspects of our life. Things like education or healthcare or transportation services or energy services or government services. And a lot of those companies are going to need to think about Washington, D.C. Not just because they're all regulated, but that's true, but because the government is actually the principal buyer of things like education and healthcare. So I think Washington, D.C. is really poised to emerge as a much more important kind of entrepreneurial region over the next decade or so, based on this rise of the rest phenomenon, as well as what's sort of the second internet revolution, as the internet starts transforming big industries that really are important aspects of life, where the government does play an important role. So I'm very bullish on the DC region, and delighted we're here. I'm here kind of by accident. I didn't really, if you'd asked me when I was a kid, name 10 cities you want to live in, I don't think Washington would have been on the top 10. So I really moved here because I wanted to join a startup that was here, which ultimately failed. But a couple of people I met at that company, we went off and started AOL a couple of years later, and then as that grew, and family and foundation, all kinds of things, 30 years later, I do consider Washington, D.C. kind of home. I'm from Hawaii, so that's always kind of home too, but Washington, D.C. home, and it's actually a great place to be, because it now feels like entrepreneurship is moving to Washington in a much more accelerated way, and I think this region is probably better positioned than any to really kind of be driving this next wave of entrepreneurship.